The government, no matter what country you live in, does not waste an opportunity for using a crisis, whether it's one they have created or aggravated themselves. They do not waste an opportunity to then use that to give themselves some more power. A sponsor that, if you're interested in, would help support my work. It's at getliverhelp.com/Allison. If you've ever thought about doing a liver detox, consider them. They have all natural ingredients in this. They have turmeric, for instance, is something I take every day. And I spend a lot of money just on turmeric. And you get turmeric plus a whole bunch of other stuff for the price of that you see on the screen. $37 basically. And well, that's third per bottle if you get six. One bottle is $44. But you in addition get an omega supplement too. And this is the ingredient list. If you ever thought about, like I said, your chronic fatigue, pain, weight issues, stuff like that, consider it. It may not be the cure all, but it definitely can't hurt your liver to put some of this stuff in your body. Turmeric, bioperine, beet, dandelion root, milk thistle, artichoke extract, ginger, alfalfa. A lot of the stuff is stuff I take anyway. And fatty liver is a real problem in the United States specifically. It used to be associated, they thought, with alcoholism. And it turns out it's just because we're eating a bunch of crap here. And if you find it difficult to get off of that stuff, or you're in the process of doing that, and you want to give your liver, your body a little bit of an extra boost, getliverhelp.com/Allison. Okay, so what are we talking about today? The Australian PM pushes for crackdown on misogynistic speech amid fears free speech is fading. This guy's got quite a record of wanting to shut up people in his country. I even saw something that Reclaim the Net actually had about calling for a crackdown on memes about himself. So that's funny. But this was one of the articles from not too long ago, just a few weeks ago. Australian leaders demand platforms curb online misinformation, float online ID, and AI-assisted content surveillance ideas. So this is just another level in what is happening in Australia right now, that they are very concerned about people on the internet. And a lot of this really ramped up during COVID. But it's personally my belief that COVID opened the door for what our countries were already headed towards. It didn't create it. I think this stuff was already in place, and then it just gave people an opportunity to capitalize on the power that they were starting to build for themselves in these particular governments, whether it's the UK, Europe, European Union, Australia, the United States, whatever we're talking about. If you saw ramp up and crack down on speech during COVID, it's not because COVID just created it. It's because it was an opportunity and they seized it. And that typically, I think, is how it works. This article from Reclaim the Net says that this guy, Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, is doubling down, has advocated for more stringent controls on what is labeled misogynistic online content. The initiative comes as plans are set for a national cabinet session in 2024 focused on women's safety, which will address online harassment, among other issues. This move marks another significant focus by the government, ostensibly on enhancing women's safety, but raising alarms about potential overreach in curtailing free speech, as its other speech-related policies have done. They have a quote from him saying that young adults should not be coached in disrespect or misogyny by online influencers. But obviously, the concern about who defines all of this is a valid one. Communications Minister Michelle Rowland has expressed concern about the widespread dissemination of such content, particularly its impact on young users of social media. The reality is that digital platforms are influencing our culture and social lives. They have a responsibility to do more to meet community standards. However, critics argue the measures could infringe on digital rights and free expression, especially given the opaque nature of the algorithms that determine content dissemination. Yeah, exactly, because it's totally opaque. It doesn't really tell us exactly how to behave. One time when I had Owen Benjamin on, I think, well, actually, I think we talked about this specifically when he was on, but it was something he also said to the CEO of Rockfin, the founder of Rockfin, after he got kicked off, which was, I would rather be on a platform that just openly said that they censored and gave us the exact term so we knew how to behave, versus pretending like everything is fine and you can say whatever you want within a legal limit, I guess. And then all of a sudden, no, you can't. And I think that's a valid point. It's like, just be honest about what you're trying to do. So, I mean, I guess you could say, well, Australia is just basically telling you just can't say anything, that you just go back to the homesteading content, Allison, which is what I should be doing anyway. Just do that anyway and give up on all the rest of this stuff, because first off, my YouTube channel is totally dead, but it's not the biggest moneymaker, I'll be honest with you, to do something like this. I should go back to homesteading. Anyway, it's just funny because if they could just say that they had all of these rules, but at the end of the day, they don't really. It's just this wide net that they cast. And then I think ultimately what that does, well, first off, I don't believe they actually even know what they mean by it. I think they want a definition that they can just change over time. Something that is opaque enough, or is it's just wide enough that they can move within that circle depending on where they want to go with it. And so just like cast a very wide net, and then it catches a lot of different fish. And then at some point, today you can decide these are the fish you want to catch, and tomorrow you can catch those, but you have the net that's big enough to catch them all. And I think that's kind of the point. And, it's interesting because we're talking about women's safety. I went back and looked at some of the stuff about J.K. Rowling, because remember, and this is just the fact that this was not news that made people's heads explode. I mean, this kind of just like came and went. J.K. Rowling will not be arrested for comments about transgender women, please say. I mean, really, just read that, okay, one more time. J.K. Rowling will not be arrested for comments about transgender women. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is like, I just think this is so fascinating that this is so crazy to me that this is not, of all the hysteria, I guess, that we get through the news media. I mean, that this stuff is happening, and that it doesn't become something they get hysterical about. I just don't get it. But if you all remember this case, basically, so a spokesperson from Police Scotland said in a statement they've received complaints in relation to social media posts, basically, for her. But the comments are not assessed to be criminal, and no further action will be taken. Okay, well, how do they determine criminal? It says Scotland's new Hate Crime and Public Order Act criminalizes stirring up hatred against people based on their race, religion, disability, sexuality, or gender identity. So the question is, would she have been found to have stirred up hatred if she wasn't J.K. Rowling? If she wasn't like one of the biggest names in the world, basically, and certainly for Scotland, would she have faced this? And Rowling wrote, in passing the Scottish Hate Crime Act, Scottish lawmakers seem to have placed higher value on the feelings of men performing their idea of femaleness, however misogynistically or opportunistically, than on the rights and freedoms of actual women. So she sees that as misogyny, which I think is that's why this stuff gets so confusing, and why it should be taken so seriously by those of us who care about the ability to talk about things, which is like a fundamental right, at least in the United States of America. Because she sees men in women's sports, for instance, or just putting on a skirt and saying they're a woman, or having breast surgery and saying they're all of a sudden a woman. She sees that as misogyny. Whereas other people are like, you're a misogynist for criticizing trans people. I mean, it's just a mess. It's kind of funny because, like, going now to what's happening in the United States, everybody hates Joe Biden on the left and the right. Everybody, but like a lot of people now on the progressive left and, the sort of America First right, I guess, like now it's like they're united in hating Joe Biden. And it's funny because you can see how like interesting bedfellows, I guess, here who you have to see, like, this is why when you start using terms that the power elite, I guess, if that's how you look at it, the people who get to define the terms for the rest of us, because it's such a gobbledygook and it's so hard to really nail down what they even mean. That's why you could see how so many people are eventually start to go, I hate this and I hate you guys, because it isn't just like a tiny little fringe part of society, even though that may be how they may want to sell it to us that way. But eventually the line gets pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. So anyway, if you're not familiar with what happened, the House passed the anti-Semitism bill, which is the Antisemitism Awareness Act. What is this? It would mandate that the education department adopt the broad definition of anti Semitism used by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, an intergovernmental group to enforce anti discrimination laws. The international group defines anti Semitism as a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. The group adds that rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti Semitism include such things as calling for the killing or harming of Jews, or holding Jews collectively responsible for actions taken by Israel. And, to be honest with you, I'm not even quite sure exactly what this even does. I mean, so the education department adopts a new definition. It's like, again, it's just a very, to use the word opaque. I mean, I think Reclaim the Net is right to use that term. It's very opaque where this stuff all goes. And so I just think it's very important to pay attention to, even when it's somebody you think is totally annoying, like a bunch of entitled elitist Ivy League school students who really may not even know what they're talking about and are screaming at you. And trust me, I've been to those protests. Um, you know, be careful wanting a crackdown on somebody that you find repugnant, because there's a good chance that someday you will be the repugnant one, or you already have been the repugnant one. AllisonWinePromo.com. It's where you can join the wine club. I gotta get that interview up with Diego. I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, the guy who goes all over the world to find these wines. Once a month, we're going to hear from him, and we're going to talk about the wine, all that good stuff. We just used the last few weeks to kind of let everybody know about the change, because instead of it just being like buy a bottle or here 2 or 3, whenever you want it, now you're going to sign up for the club. You get 6 bottles every 3 months. You're going to learn all about them. You're going to be drinking the same wine I'm drinking. We're going to start talking about it during the shows. It's going to be a lot of fun. So sign up. You'll get on the listserv, the email. You'll find out everything about it, and you get new member discount. It's a great way to support the work. These are great wines. They are wines you really cannot get anywhere else. They are from small batch providers, vineyards, small family farms, handpicked grapes. It's like the anti-big food of the wine industry. And honestly, if you like supporting small businesses and you're into food and agriculture and you drink wine, like this is it. And it's honestly a really great price. I mean, they're not cheap wine, but also you would be paying a lot more for this kind of wine if you bought it anywhere else. And like I said, it's a great way to support the work too. Locals is also a great way to support the work. See, this is what I'm seeing right now. Unfortunately, sorry, everyone's not seeing it, but normally it does work. So join the editorial board, $5 a month, AllisonMorrow.locals.com. You can go one-on-one with the most censored people on the internet, put your questions ahead of time. And as always, send me some real mail. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida, 34432. I love getting the mail. It's amazing. I just got this t-shirt and postcard from a pastor in Labrador, the big land. Thank you very much, John Lewis. He's a pastor there. Says, greetings from your favorite American pastor serving in the big land. Thank you for all you do, and may God bless your family in the days ahead. So we're going to have to go visit the big land because I looked it up and it looks amazing.